What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Keeping Up with KP. I am officially 4 days post-show, post-NPC Universe, my national show where I took a 10th place finish. If you're not caught up, go and watch my previous episodes, but today I am getting back into routine. This is the Tuesday after the 4th of July, so I feel like this will resonate deeply with many coming off of a show day weekend, coming off a holiday weekend, and I'm just gonna show the real, the raw of how I am navigating post-show. I'm an athlete, I'm a coach, and I am also a human. And I did not start this channel to share a highlight reel. I want to share the reality. Okay, so I talk a lot about my relationship with food. It's important to me. I talk a lot about my relationships and food, what I use food for, because as an athlete, as a coach, and as a human, I know food is people's biggest point of struggle. And oftentimes it's because it's not really about the food. In this pursuit and in your health, wellness, and fitness journey, you have to do the work and you have to master yourself. You have to find what works for you. That is the one thing nobody can do for you. But in doing the work of mastering myself and creating systems that save me from me, I am not only here to share the journey, but I'm here to share these systems and these life experiences with you to hopefully help. All that to say, this episode, I am sharing my life lived experience that I'm going through right now. How I am navigating post-show, food, feelings, how I'm getting back on plan, how I'm picking myself back up mentally, physically, emotionally. Because I've been competing for 6 years and I have made a lot of mistakes. In order to have a strong body physically, you need to have a strong mind. So much of this pursuit is mental. And I think that's what people fail to understand. So if you are following along with the journey, it was very important to me this time not to use food to cope or to celebrate. Coming out of this show, I was planning to do another show. So I was completely locked in, not even thinking about food. And first, just a little background, I follow a meal plan. I have been following a meal plan for 3 years. And over that course of 3 years, I have followed that meal plan better. And by that I mean, I used to add a lot of things to my food to make it taste better. Sauces, spices, stevia. I would get creative with recipes and use the same ingredients to make different things, right? Like the whole pancake or egg salad. And so this last prep, I decided not to do that. I decided to cut the fluff. And in doing that, my bloating and digestion improved. I had no cravings or food noise. I gained a much better relationship with food, my mind, my body, and this process because my progress was linear and I was using food what it's intended to be used for, which is fueling yourself. With the food industry and how food is marketed these days, you guys, people use food as their primary source of pleasure in life. It's the reality. And when you get sucked into the marketing and you're choosing inputs that drive cravings, it does take a physical, mental, and emotional toll. So something that I like to do every holiday, every birthday, every show, I just like to use these as opportunities to do it better because my entire life, every holiday, I have been at war with myself. It has been hard for me to fully enjoy because I don't want to feel like shit and I don't want it to cost me my goals. And so historically, I would restrict, and then binge. And so coming out of show this time, I planned to stay completely on plan so that I could fully process my emotions and not worry about food. I wanted to have this post-show experience after having the best birthdays and Christmases of my life being in prep. Having those experiences where the food variable is completely removed, it really just changed things for me. And that's one thing that I've never done post-show. And so this time around with both of my shows, coming out of show night, I stuck to my normal foods. I didn't choose inputs that were gonna drive more cravings like I normally would. Sugar, dairy, gluten, mostly meaning sugar. I do think it's important after being on a meal plan for so long, just kind of like have a minute to regain that trust with your mind and your body. And so the last 3 days, I have been out of routine. We came home to a series of unfortunate events. I very much could have stayed 100% on plan. There is always a way. But with being in the shit, I just kind of allowed myself to be a little bit more intuitive. So instead of that all or nothing, being completely on plan or completely off plan, I kind of found a happy medium with myself. I had 2 to 3 of like my core meals: chicken, rice, eggs, oats, berries, foods and amounts that my body is used to on a regular basis. The rest of the day, I stuck with those same foods. I just kind of was intuitive with it. I picked a few convenient options and I let myself enjoy, but the one thing I didn't do was I didn't go for any bakery items. I didn't go for anything super overly processed. I didn't do anything with gluten, dairy, soy, literally anything that I know I don't tolerate and is going to make me feel like shit. I didn't reach for it. So essentially I chose cleaner inputs. We didn't do any restaurant meals. I did go to bed every night feeling very full. I woke up every morning feeling very full. However, my digestion has been on point because of incorporating my vacuums. That is something I have continued to do in between every single meal. About 1 day post show, when I realized I was not going to be doing another show, with how everything was going, I just felt very in control. In previous experiences, I have felt very out of control. And just knowing what that feels like, I had a lot more confidence in the choices that I was making this time. And so I gave myself a little bit of grace. So I can confirm this time around, choosing cleaner inputs and allowing myself to be intuitive with it was probably the best thing that I could have done. I never woke up super swollen or inflamed. I just felt very aware and present with the cravings that I was having, and I allowed myself to lean into them. I didn't have any formal training, did some mobility work, did some leg stuff, but it was all either body weight or super lightweight just to get the blood flowing. I didn't overcompensate and do any formal cardio. I just went on 1 walk a day. Honestly, I didn't even wear my Apple Watch because it was dead. So that was a nice little break in itself. The whole point and intent of me sharing this isn't to be like, hey, look at me, I do things perfectly, because I don't and I didn't. So the first 2 days coming out of show were pretty mild just because of all of the life circumstances that we were going through. Show day, my fasted body weight was 120.8, and yesterday's check-in, my body weight was 123.0. However, yesterday after check-in, we got our power back. And the 2 things that I was craving yesterday was my burger and fries and my protein shake with granola. In my previous episode, I had gotten a cereal for this reason and I hated it. It was so hard. So I went and I got some Purely Elizabeth granola. I got the oatmeal raisin and the peanut butter kind both. So yesterday was probably my biggest food day. It was also my 3rd consecutive day coming out of show, being out of routine, eating more than I'm used to, putting truffle salt on literally everything, and putting tahini on everything. I ate a lot yesterday. Again, with cleaner inputs, I felt very in control. However, I felt very full and uncomfortable last night when I went to bed. So waking up this morning, taking my body weight, I was 4 pounds heavier stepping on the scale than I was yesterday for my check-in. I'm sharing this once again because I am not perfect, but I want this to serve as proof that you do not need to overcompensate coming off and coming out of a show day weekend, coming off and coming out of a holiday weekend. I have systems and processes that save me from me, okay? I know and understand what it feels like to start over again on Monday, to feel like you've fallen off the wagon, to beat yourself up, to be frustrated, to feel like you have failed. I am sharing this as an athlete, I am sharing this as a coach, and I am sharing this as a human. Because every time we come out of show, it is an opportunity for us to do this better. And I 1000% did this better. Because first and foremost, I could keep this to myself and continue to share the highlight reel. I could pretend none of this happened, but it very much did. And I know I can help a lot of people, and this would have helped my past self watching somebody navigate this the right way. Because what I'm not doing today is cutting out my meals, doing copious amounts of cardio, beating myself up, and being a victim of my circumstances. I am owning this experience. I am sharing the journey, and we are going to get through this together. So Coach has sent over my updated plan adjustments, you guys, and I'm gonna do another episode on this entirely, but my training is changing, my nutrition is updated. I always carb cycle, so I have my rest day and my training day diet. We are discussing some food swaps, so updating my meal plan. We have reassessed my supplement protocol. And more than anything, we have had meaningful dialogue and honest conversations about where we're at and where we want to be. Our top priority always is health and longevity. So if you've been following along with the journey, you've seen firsthand what's possible when you take yourself seriously. I took a 6-month improvement season last year and came back with too much muscle. And it was not by doing more, you guys. It was by the systems and mindsets I'm going to be sharing with you. It was by executing the plan consistently and doing the work on the muscle in between my ears so that I could show up and get 1% better every single day. And so with this current improvement season, I intend to do the exact same thing. So today's the first day that I've truly had to just sit and be with myself to digest this. And again, this is my first day getting back 100% on my new plan. So I am spending this time, truthfully, putting my own oxygen mask on. I have health coaching clients. I have 30 employees. I have a lot of responsibility and roles in my life that I cannot shut off. I am on 7 days a week as a business owner. And so being an athlete first is what grounds me in doing the work to master myself, having these systems in place that save me from me is what helps me get back to baseline real quick. So in this episode, that's what we're doing. So coming off of these 3 days post-show, being up 4 pounds from yesterday, this is 3 consecutive days out of routine, off plan. And although those first 2 days stayed within reason, these things catch up. But it does not mean that all progress is lost. You just have to give your body half a chance to normalize. And so that's exactly what we're doing. The first thing I did today was I drank a liter of water. I drank a good amount of plain room temperature water. I then went about my normal routine. I had 8 ounces of lemon water. I had my gut drink. I had my mushroom coffee. I did my fasted cardio, which is the first cardio I have done in 9 days. And then I had my meal number 1. I'm also sticking to my gut reset. If you are unfamiliar, it is essentially where you eliminate sauces, spices, stevia, carbonation, protein powder, anything that could cause some extra gas or bloating. This is a gut reset. I started running for like 24 to 72 hours in my improvement seasons when I would get bloated. As prep went on, this became my new normal because my check-ins and my progress was so linear. And I felt so good in my mind and in my body that I just stuck with it. So again, technically, I am in my off season. I can add sauces, spices, stevia, carbonation. The world is my oyster. But it is most important to me that I feel as good as possible, as quickly as possible. And so this is the standard I had set for myself and that I am returning to. I'm going to stick with and stay on this until my body normalizes and I feel good to start adding in maybe one new variable at a time. I am very excited to dabble again in my protein powder, and I did have a protein shake yesterday, which was delicious. But there was a lot happening in my stomach between the granola, the whey protein, the honey. I was just living my best life, okay? We have no regrets over here. But yeah, this is how I'm returning to my normalcy today. Okay, I got my gut reset. I'm back on my meals. I am reorganizing, reestablishing, re-locking in. And it is amazing how quickly you will feel better when you do these things. You have to remember that your body weight is going to fluctuate based on sodium intake, water intake, sleep, hormones, digestion. And all of these things are chaos coming out of a show and coming out of a holiday weekend. I am coaching my clients through this right now. I am coaching myself through this right now. This is real life. And the sooner that you can accept that and you can get your mind and your body on the same page, you will get back to baseline so quickly, you guys. So we are going to watch my body weight normalize the next couple days, and I'm gonna take you along with the journey, okay? But for right now, I am getting meal number 2 together, and I am going to do some vacuums. We'll just take a look at the physique. All right. So I'm still a little bit bloated and inflamed. And now, even though I'm not hungry, I'm going to eat. I am following my rest day diet today. And for this meal, it is chicken, 90 grams of rice, vegetable, and almond butter. So I'm gonna cook this up. I'm gonna get it in. I'm not adding any sauces, spices, stevia, nothing of the sort. I am heating it up warm, hot on the stove. I am going to drink a liter of water with this meal. I'm going to add my 1/8 teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt, and I'm gonna get on with it. One day, back at it. This is what we're looking like. Never fails. But let's see what the scale has to say this morning. Guys, one entire day back on plan. Last night before bed, I stepped on the scale just because I was curious, and I was 132, which I have not seen my body weight that high for a hot minute. Again, this is at the end of the day, right? So then this morning I weighed myself fasted and I was 126.5. So I'm down like 1.2 pounds from yesterday, but that huge drop overnight, that is water retention entirely. So this is after 3 days of me not eating my structured meals, adding in some foods that I'm not used to, horrible sleep, high stress, a lot going on mentally and emotionally, and my water intake wasn't great either. So many variables and factors to consider, not to mention I was coming off of show and travel too, okay? One whole day back on my new plan, woke up today, that's where we're at. I feel like my digestion has really started to level out. Before bed I did vacuums, this morning I did vacuums. So that's where we're sitting at right now. But I wanna take you through my morning and how I really set myself up for the day and how I recommend everyone starts their day. Coming off a holiday weekend, coming off a show day weekend, or just in general. This is just my normal. So what I do is I do 2 16 ounces plain room temperature water. This is the first thing down the hatch, okay? Everybody wants my gut drink, which I will give you, but this is my entire stack. I then do 8 ounces of hot lemon water, and then I do my mobility work, and then I do my posing. That was my prep routine. Now that I'm in off season, I'm still gonna continue to do this. Maybe not every day, I'll probably get myself on some sort of schedule, but for the time being, I'm going to keep it in. After that, I have my gut drink and my mushroom coffee. I'm going to enjoy these, and I'm gonna go on a 15-minute walk outside, come back, have my meal number 1, which is my breakfast, my savory oats. Today is a lower body training day, and I do not have prescribed cardio on my lower body days, just my steps. Today is the first day of my updated training program, so I'm so excited. I have not trained for an entire week. So this is my first formal training day, and I'm so excited. But start your day like this before you even consider a juice cleanse or anything of the sort, you guys. People are so underhydrated. You need to hydrate. Start your day this way and let me know how it goes, okay? If you want my gut drink, comment below. I will send it to you. So we will continue to see how the body trends as the week goes on. Meal 2, pre-workout going in, just the usual. Pride foods, rice and grinds, banana, almond butter, chicken. This is what we are looking like at the moment. To do some vacuums. Weight-wise, I imagine I will have a drop tonight, but who knows? Because sometimes after a lower body day, I hold inflammation in my legs, so weight goes up. But having 7 days not formally training, we'll see. This is where it's fun, like learn your body and see how the weight trends. And the thing I'm not doing today is overcompensating. That's literally the worst thing that you can do. So don't do it. First training day, post-show. Do I dare uncover the shoulder? So excited for this training session, you guys. I feel like that first session post-show just hits different, and also the feeling of coming back to life post-show when your calories start to slowly come up and you start getting better sleep, better rest, and you just start becoming a higher functioning human. It is top tier. So I'm excited to be in off season. I'm in off season. All right, you guys, we are 5 days post-show. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I have lived through 5 days. So I'm on day 6. Yeah, so I'm not a math girly, okay? So 6 days post-show as of today. However, this is day 3, back on plan 100%. I follow a carb cycle, so when I train, my food is higher. When I rest, my food is lower. I have been doing this for years, and with my new training split, which I'm going to get into, more of my week is rest than training. So after those 2 days back on plan, 0 overcompensating. I did no extra cardio, no extra steps. I just followed the plan, implemented my gut reset, and trusted the process. So Tuesday evening, I was 132, and I dropped 5.5 pounds overnight. Last night, I was 130.2, so down almost 2 pounds from my evening weight. And this morning, I was 125.6. So I'm down about another pound. That is after training. That is after a training day menu. Higher food, no overcompensating. So my body is naturally regulating itself. We can see these huge drops from evening to morning where water retention is coming off. My sleep has improved, my digestion is staying consistent. So I'm interested to see where I will land on my next check-in day, which is Monday. So I'm gonna bring you guys through to my next check-in day. Navigating food the way that I did and how I get myself back to baseline real quick. But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that this is like the easiest thing of my life. Because even though I chose better inputs with my indulgences, there is something chemical that happens to your brain post-show. Certainly when you get an influx of carbs, fats, and proteins, but also from the emotional side of it too. I can only speak from my personal experience, but when I am so locked in during prep, on my meal plan, on my non-negotiables, like I literally don't even think about food. Sorry, my dog is drinking water. I do find enjoyment in my foods, but I do not go to food for pleasure. However, in those 3 days where I started leaning into my cravings a little bit, I started choosing some different inputs like my granolas, and I started kind of getting that pleasure component from food, right? Something in my brain was kind of like, more. I will say with the inputs that I chose, I felt very in control of that more. Coming out of show previously, I have felt very out of control and unable to really shut that food noise off, and it was because of the inputs that I was choosing. Even last show when I was munching on Drizzlicious, I felt that flip switch. And so that's really why I didn't reach for anything like that this time. Because I will never forget post-show 2025 NPC universe, I was like addicted to those Who hunks, the birthday cake and the chocolate chip ones. Like I literally couldn't stop eating them. I was at the mercy of them. And I feel like when you're already in a vulnerable place coming out of show, physically and mentally, that is the worst thing that you can do for yourself. And in previous seasons even, I went for the real thing, like full on baked goods, full sugar, full fat, dairy, gluten, alcohol, all of it. And that was the worst come down of it all. So again, every improvement season I get, I try to do it better. And this one was certainly my best yet, but I do still want to share what this is really like for me, even with doing it better. And I want to share how quickly you can get yourself back to baseline. I want to bring you through how the body processes and normalizes, and how the weight fluctuates and why. And hopefully me sharing this experience will help you navigate future experiences better. With that being said, I was starting to feel a little bit cravey last night. So typically with my gut resets, I will add back one variable at a time. I was planning to fully stay on my gut reset this entire week, but because I was kind of having those cravings yesterday, I decided to add in one variable, which was my protein powder. So I did end up having a protein shake yesterday. And to be honest, I feel like that did drive more cravings for me. It was good for me to feel that. I do feel like it made me a little bit bloated also. But that is the whole point and intention with adding one variable back in at a time. So waking up today, because I do feel like it was driving a little bit more cravings in my head, I was like, oh, well, instead of having my oats and my egg whites, maybe I'll make the Hulk pancake. If you're not familiar with the Hulk pancake, that's Laura Lee Chapato's creation, right? So it's the same ingredients, it's just blended and made into a pancake. However, I stopped making the Hulk pancake because it was driving more cravings when I was eating a sweet breakfast, when I was starting my day that way. And so I am sticking with my savory oats today. I do not get protein powder on a low day, so most of my meals are just chicken, rice, vegetable. I get a little bit of almond butter, because if I was to add in protein powder, sauces, spices, stevia, carbonation, all this stuff, you guys, I'm going to be so bloated. It's going to make this week, and me trying to get my body to normalize, it's gonna make it not linear. I'm not gonna continue dropping weight because I am just adding fluff to my diet that is gonna be fighting against me. And so when I add in one variable at a time, it allows me to see how my body is going to be responding to that variable. It also allows me to continue to have linear progress. So all that to say, gonna get my breakfast together, and I am in office today, health coaching. First day back, so let's go. So 3 full days back on plan, and this morning's body weight was 126.3. Yesterday it was 125.6, so it was trending down, and now it is going back up a little bit. So you are going to have weight fluctuations in 1 week time. Yesterday was a rest day. Food was a little bit lower, but body is normalizing. Today is a training day, so food is higher. And then I have 2 consecutive rest days where food is a little bit lower, and I have cardio. I will be checking in again next on Monday. So I'm interested to see how the body weight trends the next 2 days, fully being back on plan. All right, you guys, it is Sunday, July 12th, which I just realized is my father's heavenly birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. But tomorrow is check-in day. I am 6 days back on my new off-season plan. Body and body weight are still normalizing from all of the inconsistency that compounded last Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. My body is still adjusting to my new training program, which I did on Wednesday and Friday. It's still adjusting to my new training split, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, my new base meal plan. So lots to factor in here, okay? Not to mention returning to my regular workload, taking on extra work now that I'm in off season. There's so much that my body is still adapting and adjusting to. So to get hyper fixated with that number on the scale is where a lot of people go wrong. As I've said many times, consistency and inconsistency compound. And I feel like everything caught up with me on Friday because I really started to feel the fatigue on Friday. So Friday night into Saturday morning, I slept 12 hours and I slept so hard. But I woke up like dead to the world, you guys. I was so exhausted on Saturday. Friday was also my first day implementing my new lower B training day. So I woke up with some new muscle soreness, definitely, but overall I just felt, like I said, dead to the world. So waking up Saturday, my fasted body weight was 127.6. So I went up 1.3 pounds from Friday to Saturday. Friday was also on my training day diet, so food was a little bit higher, but again, I did train lower body, and I know I was holding inflammation in my lower body. So yesterday I was off social media. I didn't record anything other than my body weight that I took in the morning. It was just a full work from home day. I was on my rest day diet, implementing my gut reset, had 30 minutes fasted cardio in the morning, got all my steps. But yeah, yesterday I felt like I was hit by a bus. Today, waking up, I do still feel that fatigue. It is not as bad as it was yesterday, but my fasted body weight this morning was 126.3. So the same that it was on Friday. I did record and share a full day of my life episode, which was on Friday, which was 1 week post show. And I kind of get into more about the importance of reversing properly, kind of like the mindsets and just what came up for me this last week. So I expand more on it in that episode. In that episode, I kind of paint you a picture of how I navigate every day in the life, no matter what I have going on, how I show up as an athlete first. But the main point of this one is to share how the mind and the body weight fluctuates in 1 week time, coming out of show, coming out of a holiday weekend, coming out of a big food weekend, like whatever you have going on in your life. Because I know coming out of show or just summer in general, your social calendar is probably jam-packed. If you are in the same boat as me, if you competed last weekend, I imagine this weekend you had a lot of plans with the people in your life that want to celebrate you and your accomplishments. And how do we do that? We connect over food. And so I know how difficult this can feel and be to navigate. And so I hope me sharing in real time how my mind and body weight are fluctuating by not doing any of that, I hope that gives you a little bit of perspective, and I hope it allows you to give yourself a little bit more grace. Some things I did notice this week, like mindset wise, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like being fully back on my plan. Kind of just accepting the fact that I am in off season now. My coach and I were talking about maybe switching up some of the food sources on my meal plan for this off season to make things more palatable. And so with this increased hunger and increased cravings and being back on my meal plan with my gut reset, just like bare bones, I was starting to feel a little bit like restriction. And also saying on social media how other competitors are navigating their post show and all of the food fun and restaurants and treats and like all of the things, right? And so I started to have this internal dialogue that made me feel like a little bit restricted. And so how I navigated that and kind of how I coach myself through this is remembering that restriction is a mindset, okay? And you really have to stay in your own lane, and you really have to choose your chosen suffering. And I mentioned this in my last episode, because in what universe is having chicken, rice, and vegetable for 3 meals a day restrictive? Like, why do we feel restricted eating that, but having 3 protein creations, protein bar, protein shake, bloat bowl, all of these fun bodybuilding foods? Like, why is it normal for the majority of our diet to be made up of that, which destroys your gut and drives cravings? You know, I think as a society, we have normalized this being normal. And for me, when I focus on how the food is making me feel rather than the pleasure that I'm getting out of that food, I feel much better in my mind, in my body, and with my goals. And so how I navigated that this week, because being on my gut reset, you guys, I don't have any sauces, spices, stevia, carbonation. So this opens up a whole new world for me. But what caused all of the digestive issues that I used to struggle with and all of the frustration that I used to have in my health, wellness, and fitness journey was all of this fluff. And so what I did this week was I reintroduced these things to add variety and excitement back into my diet, but one at a time. Because when you go from 0 to 100, you don't know what's what. And especially coming out of competition prep where things have been so controlled for so long, and especially on a week where my body is trying to normalize, the reintroduction process is very important. And so what I did is Wednesday, I added in a protein shake. Thursday, I added in Dijon mustard. Friday, I had some carbonation. By Friday, I noticed that my appetite, my hunger, my cravings was at an all-time high. And so adding in all this fluff didn't really feel like it was serving me, even though I did enjoy it, but I did notice that these things were driving more cravings. And so Saturday and Sunday being my rest days, being my low days, I went back to my gut reset, which got me back to baseline real quick. Much of this is doing the work and mastering yourself. And so I create systems that save me from me, and I share them with you. These are all systems that I use as tools as needed, when needed, to help me get 1% better every single day. All right, you guys, winding down for the night, check-in day tomorrow. These are some of my best kept secrets. Are you ready? Sadly, my tan is looking a little scaly, so we need to start exfoliating. One of the best things to get your tan off is this remover. And then I got a pack of like these exfoliating gloves, so I'm gonna exfoliate, but I don't want to be pale. So we are gonna replace our show day tan with this puppy. This one's my favorite. I have very sensitive skin, and this is coconut oil based, but this just gives you a nice little glow. So I'm going to take care of business, have my last meal, and we check in tomorrow. Ryan and I just got back from a little walk outside so I could get the rest of my rest day steps, and we kind of talked out the intentions and things that I really want to focus on this improvement season. And so I'm gonna sleep on it, and I'm gonna share that with you guys in the morning after I check in, because tomorrow's check-in is like my first official check-in of this improvement season. But in the meantime, we're going to get a better tan going.
I'll be there for the highs and lows. Give you mine if your heart gets broke. By your side when you're all alone. I will be there when you're down and down and you look. Things got tough and you've had enough. When you fall down, I'ma pick you up. I will be there. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you.
Really more return our investment of time and process. Just like with you, we can grow the glutes, you know, effectively. You've done it before, you can do it again. It's the same thing with me. It's like instead of prolonging prep chasing Olympic qualification for what? To be third or fourth call out? And then
what you're building right now is a professional physique.
But you're well on your way, KP. To close it out, you're well on your way. You're just continuing the process. When you do get the title, it's going to be worth so much more, and you're going to even be more equipped and more ready when that comes.
All right, you guys, first official check-in of improvement season. 1 full week back on plan after 3 days out of routine, coming out of show. And the first thing I'm gonna say is I navigated a lot this week, and the whole focus of this episode was going to be how my weight fluctuated, right? Showing how my body weight trended after not overcompensating, just getting 100% back on plan. I wanted to show you guys how I navigated that. The cravings, the increased appetite, the fatigue, the mental landscape, the emotional landscape, all of it. Because how you navigate and handle your reverse is what is going to set you up for your next prep. The second that you step off stage, your improvement season and your reverse begins. And these choices and consistency with these choices compound. The biggest mistakes competitors make, or the biggest mistakes people make in their health, wellness, and fitness journey, either coming out of show or coming off a diet, is not reversing properly. That is why oftentimes you see competitors put on a significant amount of weight or body fat in their off season, or why when people diet and lose a bunch of weight, they gain it all right back. It is because of the week that I just lived through. And so I shared with you in real time a play-by-play, a day-by-day of my first week of my rebound. And with today being my first official check-in day, with my coach of my off season, I want to share how that went, because this ended up being a very emotional check-in for me, and I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest with you. When I got into bodybuilding, my first couple off seasons, I did not work with a coach. I paid my coach for that 12-week prep, and the second I got off stage, I never heard from him again. Those were off seasons where I made no progress. I put on unnecessary body fat. My relationship with food was not good, but I was celebrating my accomplishments on a daily and weekly basis and packing my social calendar with food focused celebrations. Not working with a coach in my improvement season, not holding myself to a high standard during that phase is what led to stalled progress and a poor relationship with my body, with food, and with the process. And that wasn't just one season. That was 3. That was 3 years. And that's what's driving me to share this experience, because I am holding myself to a higher standard. I am reversing, I am rebounding like a professional. I am not a professional. I am still an amateur. But that doesn't mean that I have to act like one. So I'm going to round out this episode with everything that came up in today's check-in. I'm going to share how my body weight ended up trending, being 100% back on plan. And I'm going to share how this check-in is setting the tone for the season ahead. So the first thing I want to note is the importance of check-in day. Checking in with a coach, like, this is all personal development, and having a coach that helps you develop as a person, not just as an athlete, is huge. My check-in process is pretty lengthy. It is not just photos and weight and a scale 1 to 10. How did you do this week? We touch on everything from my performance in the gym, my mental state, my emotional state, my digestion, and I give expansive and thoughtful feedback because I want to get the most out of working with my coach. I want to develop myself the most as an athlete and as a person every single week. That's what working with a coach is. You are being held accountable to the person that you say you want to be. And not every coach is going to give you the most, but my coach does. So that's why it's important to find a coach that resonates with you. But this week, what came up, what we touched on, and why it was so emotional was because it takes time to process the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and everything coming out of show. So in today's check-in, I set my photos, I set my weight. My body weight ended up being 125.2. So I was up 2.2 pounds from last week. Last week's check-in, I was 123.0. And in this week's check-in, I was very thorough and honest about every single thing that I consumed this week. I answer questions about my adherence to the plan, if I had any deviations, exactly what those deviations were, because holding yourself to a higher standard starts with honesty. When you're not honest with your coach, you are not honest with yourself. And most people are not honest with themselves. I have had seasons where I have been dishonest. And so when people fail to take up the space to check in, it's usually because they can't face themselves. I have been that person as an athlete, and I have seen that as a coach. But for me, in this instance, I told my coach exactly how this week went. I told my coach exactly what I consumed last Monday when I had my French fries, when I had my granola, when I put my honey and my tahini on everything. I told him about introducing those variables that I left out in my gut reset. I also told him that after introducing them for a day, that I decided to pull them back out immediately because they were driving cravings and they were causing digestive issues. They were causing gas, they were causing bloating. And so having that dialogue helps him better help me, because we were discussing switching up the foods on my rest day to make my diet a little more exciting, a little more palatable for improvement season. I had to pause and complete my thoughts while training, because if you are new here, my health, wellness, and fitness journey, my bodybuilding journey, it started out as a gut health journey, and today's check-in changed the trajectory of this improvement season. My check-in days are going to continue to be very sacred, because that is the one day of the week that I actually check in with myself. Me checking in with my coach, my investment in working with my coach is why and how I'm able to show up in all of the roles that I do 7 days a week. And being an athlete first allows me to give my best to everybody in my life in all of the roles that I play. And so you may have found me and know me for my gut reset, which essentially is a system that has saved me from me. My gut reset has allowed me to control my gut environment. And there's different uses for a controlled environment. You can control your environment to reset your gut, reset your palate, get rid of cravings, get rid of bloating. Controlling your environment gets you on stage with a flat stomach. Controlling your environment gives you linear progress week over week when you check in. And so this gut reset is a tool. And this tool became the new standard that I had with and for myself because I was in competition prep for a long time, for 6 months. And during my competition prep, if you've been following along with the journey, I started working with my friend, Dr. Michael, and he was helping me with probiotics and with enzymes. In my gut health journey, I have never been able to stick to a gut protocol. I haven't been able to do that because there were so many variables in my diet. There was so much fluff in my diet on a regular basis. My gut environment wasn't controlled. So any of the gut supplements, any of the tinctures, any of the herbs, medication, anything I was doing didn't have a fair shot. There were too many variables at play. I didn't know what was what, and that's why nothing worked. And early on in my health, wellness, and fitness journey, before I got into bodybuilding, when I was trying all of these different diets, same shit. There was so much fluff in my diet. My gut environment was so uncontrolled that no matter what I did, nothing worked and nothing stuck. And it just added and created so much frustration because I hadn't yet mastered myself. And so the reality is, you guys, people that can tolerate any sort of food. There's girls out there with a flat stomach that can eat literally McDonald's chicken nuggets, drink alcohol, eat sugar. They can live their best life. And the reason for that is because they have enzymatic function in their body. They can break down foods. Nothing can touch them. Nothing can affect them because they have a high functioning gut. I don't. And that has caused a lot of frustration in my health, wellness, and fitness journey. And so that is what led me to get an education. That is what led me to become a health coach and help other people. That is what led me to bodybuilding. That is what led me to the goals I set for myself, to changing the trajectory of my life to help people look and feel their best, and ultimately to me sharing the journey right now. And so I'm telling you this in real time because my gut health journey isn't over. I am still in the thick of it. And I think the thing people have to understand is with your gut health journey, your health, wellness, and fitness journey, it is not a destination. This is a lifelong journey. And I have gotten so much value out of this pursuit because without bodybuilding, I wouldn't have that level of self-mastery. Because the discipline that bodybuilding taught me and the professional standard that I'm committed to holding myself to is what has allowed me to get honest with myself, get honest with my coach, and is pointing me to the next puzzle piece in this journey. In this competition prep, I was able to connect the dots with my core control, which has dramatically improved my digestion. And so working on my core control, my breathing, my pelvic floor, like using those muscles, it has really helped with my digestion because I think much of my issue is muscular, but my body is definitely lacking that enzymatic function to break down food. And I can tell you that because during this last week, this 1 week post show, when I was trying to enjoy some food, when I was trying to reintroduce my protein powder, when I was trying to reintroduce my Dijon mustard, I couldn't tolerate it. These things immediately caused bloating. And so after one day, I pulled them out. I went right back to my gut reset. And so in today's check-in, I shared all of this with my coach. Because the closer we got to show, the more I started controlling my gut environment. So I pulled out anything that could potentially cause gas or bloating. I pulled out my probiotic, I pulled out my enzymes, I simplified my gut drink, and I pulled out my veggies. And so over the course of 32 years, I have learned how to control my gut environment. I've learned how to navigate it physically, and I've learned how to navigate it mentally. There are 4 ways that I reset, and I have shared 2 of them with you. The most known one is my gut reset, right? I also have a hydration reset. I also have a fasting reset, and I also have my core control reset. And these are all tools and levers that I know when to pull. But all these things do is control the environment, which most people don't have the discipline to stick to for 24, 48, or 72 hours, let alone make it a new standard that you hold yourself to. So in today's check-in, sharing with my coach how reintroducing this fluff, these variables went, and seeing where my body leveled out 1 week post-show, discussing reintroducing and switching up new foods onto my rest day menu, we came to an agreement that the foundation needs to be laid first. We need to do the work of regaining that enzymatic function, reintroducing my probiotic, reintroducing my digestive enzymes, get my gut working better so that we can layer in one variable at a time, and so that we can add more diversity back into my diet. And so I'm going to share the journey on this because I know so many people struggle with digestive issues, and gut health journeys are known to be long and non-linear and frustrating. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because people cannot keep a controlled environment. If your environment isn't controlled, you have all of this fluff. This fluff is feeding the bad bacteria in the gut. And so whatever protocol you're following, if you're following it for 4 days a week and the 3 days a week, you're off the rails on the weekend, consuming foods that are feeding the bad bacteria, consistency compounds, good or bad. And so I know that I can hold myself to the high standard of keeping a controlled gut environment. And so my priority this improvement season is improving my gut environment, my gut health, because longevity and being able to tolerate a diverse diet and introduce foods back into my diet that I have avoided for so long is more important to me than short-term pleasure. Anytime I have a cheat meal, anytime I try to add any of this fluff back in, I can't tolerate it. My body fights me. I implement my gut reset again. Then I try another food, and it's the same thing over and over and over again. And so if this is hitting home, if this is resonating with you, this too applies to your health, wellness, and fitness goals, because your gut is part of your health, wellness, and fitness goals. If you are choosing inputs that are driving cravings, causing bloating, causing inflammation in the body, it doesn't matter if it fits in your macros, you guys. If your body cannot tolerate and process and break down the foods that you are consuming, it doesn't matter. And that's why this week's check-in is less about the body weight and more about all of the variables and factors that you have to consider when looking at body weight. Digestion, water retention, sleep, mental state, inflammation in the body from training. There are so many factors and variables. So when you get hung up with that number on the scale, coming off a show day weekend, coming off a holiday weekend, you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And that is the picture I'm trying to paint for you right now by sharing my own journey. And so with today's check-in, we really established the core things that we are going to focus on this improvement season. And I want to bring you guys along with the journey because I am determined to prove a point that when you hold yourself to a high standard, when you hold yourself to a professional standard in all aspects of your life, things can improve so quickly. And I truly believe that will be the case for my gut health journey. Because being 1 week post-show, it is less important to me to have cheat meals and meals off plan. And it is more important for me to regain that enzymatic function in my body so that I can have a better improvement season, so that I can build a body that works better, so that I can have a more diverse diet all of the time, so that I can have a better prep in the future. So key areas of focus for this improvement season are getting my gut working better, getting my body moving better with my mobility, because with my training, the focus now is entirely on connecting to my glutes, my upper outer glutes. In today's training, I had brand new movements on my plan, and I had to back off in weight to really get that mind muscle connection with my glutes. And so it is going to be a lot of relearning my body and these movement patterns. So I'm going to be having a follow-up with Dr. Kyle post-show to reassess and reprogram my mobility so that my body can connect better to these movements so that I can better fit the bikini criteria. And the backbone of all of this is my mental state. And I think that's where having a coach that takes the time to mentor you through your wins, through your losses, it really matters, because I am still very much processing this loss. And this is the work that separates the people that quit from the people that continue. And so reversing out of show is much more than your diet, you guys. It's navigating the physical, mental, and emotional landscape of it all. And so to recap this episode, and what I hope you really took away from it, is how to reverse like a professional by choosing better inputs, continuing to work with a coach, reversing properly, doing the physical, mental, and emotional work, fully feeling and accepting whatever comes up for you, because this pursuit cracks you open, you guys. So all that to say, that is where I am at my first official check-in of my improvement season. Again, I have never shared an improvement season, and I am so excited to bring you guys along with the journey. So let me know what you're most excited to follow along with. Is it gut health? Is it these systems that save me from me? Is it the mobility work and getting my body moving better? Is it the mindset aspect? Like, what is resonating with you guys? Because I'm going to share it all. But if you like this episode, make sure to like this episode. Don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for following along with the journey. But that is all I've got for you guys today, and I will see you in the next one.